Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 and other respective radio stations island-wide. I am Charity Dunker, and welcome to the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, March 17, 2021. At this time, I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister of Finance, Art Bell-Irian, to address you. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Charity. Good morning, colleague. Good morning to the media. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. Miss Charity, I'm hearing a background noise. I don't know if it's from someone else's mic or the system. Either way, good morning, everyone. I would first like to start with an update from in the ministry. We have 4 employees from the Ministry of Finance who will be receiving a training on financial forecasting. This happened after being approached by the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin and CARTAC, which stands for Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center, and they have agreed to assist in the development of a macro fiscal framework for Curacao and St. Martin. Both frameworks will be linked to make calculations for the monetary union. With the macro fiscal frameworks, the government will be able to conduct multi-annual economic forecasts for the real sector, public sector, and the external sector based on the IMF templates. This will also enable the Ministry of Finance to calculate the effect of external shocks on the economy. The Central Bank has provided the much needed high frequency real sector, public finance, and balance of payments data to CARTAC, and CARTAC is working on the frameworks. I would also like to mention that I'm very happy to have staff that are consistently eager to learn and train and develop themselves, even with the current workload during the pandemic and the Dutch conditions. The support and eagerness remains there. In addition to that, I'd also like to mention that we, together with SFB, are working on having the portal open for payroll support, hopefully by the end of next week, and start the process of collecting information and simultaneously paying out once the information has been processed. Last but definitely not least, a project that I've mentioned, I believe at least for sure 6 months ago, a project that started last year, July, August, I believe, where I told the media we were working on online payments for government. So not the typical online payments that we do now, for example, for the vehicle tax payment, where an individual can send money from their bank account to the government's bank account and make a payment. No, we have now created a system where persons can create an account, and when they log in, they will see their invoice and they can pay directly online and receive a receipt one time. I believe we will be the first between the Cos Islands, which is Curacao, Aruba, and St. Martin, to have a government where we could have fully online payments. And we are starting with employer permit, vehicle tax payment, and electrical inspection. We are hoping to have by the end of this year every payment that you can make physically to be fully online. I'm happy to see that a vision that the ministry had last year, an idea that we had last year, finally come to fruition. And I'm also happy to have the support of the ICT department, which saw a vision and were able to help us execute it and make it become a reality. So I'm hoping to have this launched by next week, Friday, a full launch, and waiting to see the results of our online payment come to realization. That'll be all, Charity.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Art Bell-Irian. The Minister of Rome has joined us, the Honorable Minister Doron Jurendi. Are you ready to go live and go ahead and address? Welcome, Minister, to the Live Council Ministers press briefing. You have the floor.
Thank you, Charity. Good morning to you. Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today, I have the following updates from the ministry for you. In reference to the Simpson Bay Lagoon Cleanup Project, which was launched on Monday, the 15th of March this year, I hereby inform you of the following. The purpose of this project is geared toward cleaning up approximately 120 shipwrecked vessels resulted from the dire effects of hurricanes in 2017, which caused damage to the marine sector and the surrounding environment. All removal activities will be done in an environmentally friendly way according to the project's environmental and social management plan. The works will be conducted within approximately 150 days by the contracted company KMSBV. The Ministry of ROMI has made a plot of land near the roundabout at the causeway available for this company for the duration of this project. A major part of the decommissioning of the works will be carried out aboard 2 large barges brought to the island specifically for this activity. The works will be supervised by European Offshore Services Maritime. I commend all stakeholders involved in this project as we work together to clean St. Martin and keep our environment in check. With regards to the awarding of the solid waste contracts for the collection of waste 2021-2026, as of March 31st, 2021, the current contracts on the island-wide solid waste collection program will be coming to an end. The procurement of the services was publicly tendered on February 2nd of this year in order for the services of the collection and transportation of solid waste to continue throughout the various districts. The Ministry of ROMI has prepared a new multi-annual contract to cover these services, which will commence on April 1st of this year and will last for a duration of 5 years, thus ending on March 31st, 2026. In order to better manage the execution of the works and attain more efficient and work performance in the districts, the original 8 parcels have been reorganized into 7 parcels. The terms of reference, along with the minutes of the meeting and the addendum, form the basis of what contractors use to formulate their bidding package, which was legally vetted. Contrary to the past, improvements were made where stringent rules were introduced for the tender process. For example, your business license and/or Chamber of Commerce or the prospective contractor needed to reflect the scope of works of the works tender, which in this case includes solid waste, garbage collection, and/or relevant waste cleaning removal services. The entire bidding process was set in stone prior to the acceptance of any bid packages, and no alterations were made after the bids were submitted. This ensured that all matters were handled reliably and with integrity. On February 2nd, the bids were received from the respective contractors. During the tender session, the packages were opened in the presence of the contractors and relevant staff of the ministry, and the prices of the submitted bids were read aloud in light of transparency. The ministry had made high expectations known to the contractors in holding up their side of the agreement, and the contractors ensured that they are committed to keeping St. Martin clean. Now that the tender has been officially finalized, communications will be going out from the Ministry of ROMI to all the participants, thanking them for their participation and formally informing them of the outcome. Congratulations are extended to the companies that were successful in winning the tender. I encourage companies to make it the best practice to actively update their documentation and ensure that they are in line with the requirements for future tenders that are to come. Lastly, I would like to bring to the public, the Ministry of ROMI has recently placed the signs on the Ring Road and other public areas that prohibit parking containers, car wrecks, and dumping of any objects on these properties. We expect to erect more of these signs in and around the island, and I would like to remind the general public that it is illegal to, whether it's a car wreck, containers, or any sort of waste or material on public private property. Thank you, and I look forward to any questions that members of the media might have.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. I'd like now to invite the Honorable Minister of TIAT, of Transport, Telecommunication, Economic Affairs, and Tourism. Ludmila de Weaver, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Dunker. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, viewing and listening public. I actually didn't really have opening statements today, but I could go ahead and say something. Last week, you may have noticed that we had the opening of Diamond Resorts at both Flamingo and Royal Palm. And I just wanted to say congratulations again to those both those hotels. It's a sign that we are heading back in the right direction and getting our room availability numbers up. In addition to that, I know that many people are eager to see that we have extended hours. Hopefully that will be, all the paperwork will be done for that to be in place on Friday. But I believe clarification is warranted on the opening hours to 4 a.m. Businesses per their license that have closing time at 2 a.m. will close at 2 a.m. Businesses that have a closing time at 3 a.m. will close at 3 a.m. It does not mean that those businesses are allowed to extend their opening hours until 4 a.m. That's the clarification I needed to have happen based on statements and questions that have come back to us. What is in your business license is what you are bound by. In addition to that, the Ministry of TEAP will be sending out some changes to licenses. Hopefully that will be published today. I was really hoping that today I would have a major announcement to make, but it's going to be delayed by a few days, and hopefully that will be available next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Ludmila de Wever. The Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silveria Jacobs, you have the floor. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to my colleague ministers, members of the press, Good morning to you as well. Sorry about that. I'm so used to my spiel. And of course, to the listening and viewing public, welcome and thank you for joining us this morning. Again, we apologize for the late start, and I thank all my colleagues for being here this morning to inform the public. As Minister Doran, I did have some opening statements regarding the recovery project, but Minister Doran already touched on that. But I'm happy to announce that we are seeking via our NRPB and focal points in government to improve our communication, thereby being able to better facilitate the execution of the projects. Reminding the people of St. Martin that the NRPB is the execution arm of government in these recovery projects, and as such plays a very important role in ensuring that the planning, preparation, and execution takes place as per government's approvals and the approvals within the steering committee for the funding to take place. I'd like to thank all those, especially within government, seeing the load that we are all handling at this moment, to be able to collaborate and cooperate to ensure the projects are timely executed and that we can get the best out of the projects for our community. So I'm very happy to see that this operations is expected to begin very, very soon. And I look forward to that, as well as all other projects under the trust fund to be executed in a timely fashion as we move forward. My apologies. As you know, during the month of March, we celebrated International Women's Day, and Government of St. Martin, in discussion with our counterparts on Friends St. Martin, continue to honor women throughout this month. We actually believe that every day should be Women's Day. However, we take this month, March, to honor women throughout the different sectors as strong and influential women of St. Martin, Saint-Martin. Some have made a difference over many years, so they have a historical factor, while others are leaders currently making their way and showing their leadership skills, and then others yet are young and upcoming potential leaders. I decided to look across these three various spectrums because I think that some of the leaders that we know over the years, people would be, oh yes, that's an expected one. But some of the others that are currently making strides, not many people may know them, and I believe via this platform that a few, at least a few, will have the light shine on them, showing the great works that they are doing and thereby inspiring others on their journey. These women are being highlighted via our social media pages, and we congratulate all those who have already been highlighted and those who are yet to come, and others who are silently and unassuming in their journey, going about their daily tasks, inspiring others, making a difference, and though not publicly recognized, are inherently motivated, so self-motivated, to continue to make a difference daily. We congratulate you all and look forward to one day being able to shine the light on you as well. I really wish I could do it for all, and I have received quite some names from the general public, which I encourage you to continue to do. As a society, we have a responsibility to dismantle the stereotypes that hold women back. And in doing so, it is of utmost importance that we continue to push for equality in all facets of life where women and young girls are concerned. So we must challenge, and that's the theme for this year, choose to challenge any area where girls and women are held back from reaching their highest potential. In closing on this topic, I'd like to mention that the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg, former justice, and many, many years, lawyer and trendsetter as a female in that field. Many of her quotes are quite poignant and meaningful, but I believe one that she said, where women belong in all places where decisions are made, is quite important for where we are today. We as women make up more than half of the population, and so I therefore encourage all to ensure that women are always at the table so that our voices are heard. I'd also like to take the time to update on the country packages. On Friday, March 19, I will be attending a continuation of the Central Committee meeting of Parliament in my capacity as Minister of General Affairs to answer the questions that had been posed in the previous portion of the meeting, as well as render an update on the status as we stand now with the country packages. I'm happy to update you today that the Council of Ministers approved the completed implementation plan yesterday, Tuesday, March 16, in its regular COM meeting. This is a great milestone for us, as the deadline to come to such an agreement on what the implementation plan will be for the next quarter is due on April 1st. This plan is expected to be vetted also in the Netherlands and will be going to the Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting next week for final approvals. After that approval, the State Secretary and I will then be poised to sign that agreement, I believe, well before the 1st of April. So St. Martin is working diligently, and I must commend all the civil servants within the SG platform and the separate committees per ministry that have been diligently working on the objectives that St. Martin has put forth in relation to the measures that were laid down in that agreement that we signed in December. As St. Martin continues to work diligently in living up to those agreements made, I reiterate St. Martin's commitment to continue to upgrade and work on these reforms as agreed upon, and that such cannot be broken without either the government of the Netherlands or the government of St. Martin deciding that it is so. As such, our commitment is clear, and I thank all those civil servants who have been working diligently with the temporary work organization that is in place until the COHO is finalized. Also this week, specifically on Monday, the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, called UNECLAC, met in a virtual high-level meeting of associate members and members. In my capacity as Minister of General Affairs, I attended together with support staff from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in this virtual high-level meeting. During this meeting, we were able to, as various associated states such as the BVI, Anguilla, Aruba, just to name a few, bring forth our current status of affairs and the importance of this UNECLAC in being able to assist us moving forward. This was indeed the fourth meeting of the Forum, the Countries of Latin America and the Caribbean on the sustainable development, and the dialogue was based on a resilient and sustainable recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic and achieving the 2030 agenda. As we have been diligently working also even before this COVID-19 era on our national development vision, which also has a strong component of the 2030 agenda for the SDGs, it was my pleasure to be able to update that though we are challenged economically and financially, as many other islands within the Caribbean and countries around the world, even large and strong developed countries, we continue to seek ways to create a sustainable development for our country, not just for today or the short term, but for the medium and long term as well. And therefore, we continue to collaborate with our partners as associate member states. I'm also pleased to update the general public that yesterday, Tuesday, March 16th, I was able to receive the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine. As you may know, during the first week on that second day, which was Tuesday, I was able to partake with the first dose as my uncle and both my father and uncle are residents of the White and Yellow Cross. As such, I received my appointment and just as the first time had almost no side effects whatsoever. I did feel it this time going in, but I must say I have had no side effects. Neither has any of my family members, or from what I can gather, any of the elderly at the St. Martin White and Yellow Cross. I must say it went as smoothly as it did the first time, and I'm really encouraging people to continue to go out and register. Of course, even though we are in the third phase of the execution, all those who fell within the first two stages, so medical personnel and the elderly, are still prioritized as soon as they register. So of course, we want to get as many people, up to 70% minimally, for that herd immunity to be in effect by June, and we must step it up in order to be able to achieve that goal. Register today, and then patiently await that call when you will be able to have your first, and then 3 weeks later, your second vaccine. There was some concern based on the numbers that we were not be able to get the second batch as planned, but I can also confirm that we are expecting the second batch of Pfizer vaccines to arrive on the island within a week. All residents, again, are encouraged to register online for the COVID-19 vaccine by visiting the Government of St. Martin's website, www.stmartingov.org/coronavirus. Hard copies of the registration form are also available at CPS, at various doctors' offices, government administration building, labor affairs, as well as Public Service Center in Simpson Bay and select pharmacies. You are reminded that though we are vaccinating persons, I believe we've hit the 4,000 mark or are very close to that up to yesterday, I would like to ask you not to become complacent. Minister of Tayat has also mentioned that while we do want economic development, we must do so in a safe manner. Many people around the world are just throwing off their mask and going out in large gatherings. I would not advise that on the island. Continue to have good practice, good, safe, healthy hygiene, washing hands often, avoiding large gatherings, and of course, proper face mask usage. Washing and disposal. So if you're using the disposable kind, do dispose of them once they get wet. And if you're using the cloth kind, they should be washed daily. With that, I believe I've come to the end of my announcements for now, and I await any questions from the media, but reminding the people of St. Martin that if we are to succeed, it is totally up to us, and we must all just put our shoulders to the wheel and keep on pushing. Thank you, Charity. Thank you, members of the media. Thank you, St. Martin.
Thank you, Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs, for your opening remarks. This time, I'd like to invite the Honorable Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, the Honorable Richard Pontifleck, to address you. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Ms. Dunker. Good morning, colleagues, and to the public listening via radio and social media. Today marks 1 year since St. Martin reported its first COVID-19 case on the southern side of the island. This time last year, there were a lot of unknowns with panic and fear seeping into public sentiment. What we had hoped to avoid was not inevitable and on our shores. No one could have ever predicted how crippling COVID-19 would have been. People lost their jobs, families were separated from loved ones, parents had to learn to balance working remotely while adapting to distance learning for their children. Social distancing, hand hygiene, and mask wearing became the norm. We have learned a lot from this pandemic. how fragile our economy is, the importance of a strong public health system, and ensuring that we have a healthcare infrastructure that meets the demands that are required in a health crisis. And like every natural disaster that has come to our shores, we have proven time and time again that we are a resilient people. I would like to pause for a moment to recognize the 27 lives lost as a result of the outbreak on St. Martin and hope that the families have found comfort and strength from the community in helping to keep their loved ones' memories alive. May their souls rest in peace. I want to acknowledge the frontline healthcare workers and those behind the scenes, such laboratory professionals. They navigated the crisis, risked their lives, sacrificed their family and personal time to help and save others. I would also like to thank colleagues within government, the health professionals from the Netherlands, the AMI team, local businesses, and countless volunteers who generously devoted their time to support CPS in their tough hours. Today, we see 10 active cases of COVID-19, and while this trend is moving in the right direction, I want to remind the public that we are not out of the woods as yet. We have been here before. Just past summer, after much sacrifice, dedication, and effort, we saw 0 cases for almost 2 months, followed by a drastic resurge. This is a reminder that COVID-19 is real, and resurges in these may be inevitable, and collectively we need to do our part to protect ourselves, our families, and our greater community. There are critics who say our cases are low simply because we are not testing enough. This is not the case. Testing remains open to any and everyone, through our free drive-through testing facility. Simply show up and you can be tested. Everyone is welcome to test. No one is denying testing for public health concerns. Currently, the ministry is actively mobilizing vaccination clinics to vaccinate our population. We are privileged to have received the Pfizer vaccine, which is at this point has proven to be of the more effective vaccines against COVID-19. Similar to our partners in the North, we have begun to vaccinate those most at risk, the elderly, healthcare workers, and more recently, persons aged 18 to 59 with underlying medical condition. As such, I was informed by the vaccination management team manager that we have administered over 4,000 vaccines doses already, whereby some already received their second doses, as the Prime Minister just has indicated, of vaccine in St. Martin, and will be receiving the next batch soon from the Netherlands. Take advantage as the vaccine, especially Pfizer, are scarce, at this moment free, and we cannot guarantee supply in the long term. I encourage persons to register online or by paper registration, which can be found at doctors' offices, pharmacies, the government administration building, and CPS. We are now in the next stage in the fight against COVID-19. That stage is the vaccine. It is up to you to inform ourselves and take action. Together, we will come to the new norm of living as soon as possible. It takes also from your part. God continue to bless us and St. Martin as a whole. Thank you, Ms. Duncan.
Thank you very much, Minister Richard Panafleck. If you have just joined us, you're watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, March 17, 2021. At this time, we're going to switch over to the question and answer round, where I invite the members of the media to join us. Bibi Shah of SMN News, you have the floor.
Good morning, Charity, members of the council, colleagues. My first question, I'll direct it to the Minister of Romy, Egbert Doran. Minister Doran, good morning again. In your opening statements, you spoke about the garbage collection contracts, and basically the process seemed to be finalized because you said it's going into effect as of April 1st. That brings me to ask you if the governor signed off on the LB, and if so, how long? And also to address the concerns, if there were any really concerns, in the press release that was sent out by the Member of Parliament, Emmanuel.
I can answer the first two parts of your question, but the latter part, I think you would have to specify which point exactly so that you can get a clear answer. With respect to the process, it is indeed finalized. There was several questions asked in the press briefing a couple of weeks ago, and I could not have answered because, of course, it was incomplete, and I did not want to hamper the integrity of the process. In the meantime, it has been handled, approved by the Council of Ministers, approved by the governor as well. The contracts were signed with the respective winners, which in this case is out of the 7 parcels, 5 different companies were awarded contracts. So that is a good thing for me in terms of it being spread out. Yeah, all the processes were followed and that was done. Now, with respect to the last point, I don't know if you can specify so that I can make sure I address your answer correctly.
Minister, in a press release a couple of weeks ago, the Member of Parliament, who was a former Minister of Roaming, he spoke about several things, and especially procedures, new rules, things that were changed. He even said a lot of contractors contacted him. I do not want to zoom in on one specific question, but in general, the procedures that he criticized.
Okay. With respect to the procedures, baby, as I mentioned, let's say, for instance, one of the concerns brought to me by the department before the terms of reference was even sent out is that last time around you had people with car garages, hair salons, and any sort of company, any sort of business license applying and participating. This time around, it was clearly stipulated that your business license or your Chamber of Commerce excerpt, if you're a sole proprietorship, has to reflect the scope of works, as I mentioned earlier, which has to do with garbage collection, waste collection, and or cleaning services. So anything in that range then would be applicable and then would be allowed. Anything outside of that would be disqualified based on the point of them not having in their business license or their chambers of commerce the scope of works that we are here tendering. I believe that change is inevitable as we move forward and we learn from our mistakes. One of the things that the department brought to my attention as well is that last time around, several companies underbid, and that is not in the best interest of the principal, which is in this case government, and or the company, because the company suffers because they don't have enough funds to run their day-to-day operation. So with that, we also introduced a sort of a compliancy range in terms of a certain percent down and a certain percent up. So once you was up above that range, you would have been considered quote unquote overbid, and under that range would have been then underbid. And then you would not get points for your price based on that compliancy range, or sort of a safeguard. So it's not only to safeguard the principal, which ultimately is government, which represents the people and the public funds, but also to specify and safeguard the contractors so that they don't end up in a situation where they won't be able to deliver. And then the principal, as when the contract managers go out, they issue sort of warnings and different things. So it's something to safeguard everybody. And it was a brilliant idea from the department. And it was something that was implemented by me ultimately once the advice was received.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bibi, and also thank you, Minister Deron. Mr. Lyndon Brown from BCN TV, you have the floor. Please unmute your mic, Lyndon. Lyndon, are you there? Kindly unmute your mic. You have the virtual floor.
Yeah, good morning to the people of St. Martin. The internet giving a lot of inconsistency. But anyway, let me go right to the question before I get interrupted. The question is for the Minister of Roaming. Minister of Roaming, recently we had some engagement with, and the aspect of the people of St. Martin come first and be first where we're concerned. which local company, because I understand that Dutch company get the contract to do the to clean the lagoon. Is there any local company get a piece of the pie?
Good morning once again to you, Mr. Brown. As I mentioned in the opening statements, I'm here looking for the name of the company was KMSBV, which was published by the NRPB, and also I reiterated just now. With respect to the subcontracting, I would have to check with Mr. Connor as to what subcontracting arrangements were made with local companies, and I can have that sent to you in writing. I do not have the facts on that at this moment. So I can send it in writing and or update you next week in the press briefing. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyndon, and also thank you, Minister Duran. Lyndon Brown, can you kindly mute your mic, please? Moving forward to Jeffrey Saccharin, Dr. Sack of Island 92. You have the floor.
Thank you, Charity. Good morning to all the members of the Council of Ministers and my fellow colleagues in the media, and to everyone watching and listening, for that matter. Congratulations, Prime Minister, on receiving your second dose. Bravo. I would like to maybe address this question both to Minister Panafleck and to our Prime Minister. I'd like to hear both of your thoughts. We currently have just under 8,900 people registered for the COVID-19 vaccine. We're working on really the top three categories: the 60 plus, the under 60 or 59 and under with underlying conditions, and of course the frontline workers. There is a school of thought that says that the more people we vaccinate and the sooner we vaccinate them, the better we are and the faster we'll get to that level of herd immunity. Knowing that we have capacity in at least one of the vaccination centers that I visited and have spent some time at to expand the capacity in that center, there is the school of thought that says, let's offer the vaccine to everyone who is eligible that has registered and not restrict it to the categories that we have. This way we get to the herd immunity even faster. Is that something that is being considered from the Minister of Health's perspective or from your perspective, Prime Minister? Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Saccharin, and thank you for your question. First of all, I would like to thank you for your dedication and participating within the vaccination plan rollout. I was very pleased to see that you also are one of the members that gives from your time to help with the vaccination. As we are busy with the rolling out of the vaccinations, constantly we are evaluating all what's taking place. I have to say, like for instance, last week personally with some members of the CPS, we went into the community and spoke to some of our senior citizens to get the impression why they are not making use of the opportunity to get vaccinated. Most of them, the outcome is that either the children or relatives are not advising them not to. So it was quite some convincing and time consuming that we gladly did, because it's our seniors from out of our community that we explain them about the whole process, that the vaccine is for themselves, for the community, and as you say, as sooner we get the vast majority of the community vaccinated, that we will create a herd immunity. Being saying that is, yes, we are in constant deliberation, and we will also talk to our suppliers, that is the Netherlands. I would like again to thank them. We're receiving the vaccines free of charge. And one of the things is that I want to make perfectly clear. Right now we're having the Pfizer. And the Pfizer was donated so that the most vulnerable out of our community, the 60-plussers, the healthcare workers that are working, that I've said before last week, are being vaccinated with the Pfizer. why just not open up and vaccine everybody is, like I said last week also, you need to get 2 doses. Being part of the team, you know that, Mr. Zakarin, you need to get 2 doses, and we need to be able, right, to ensure that if you get the Pfizer vaccine now, that there will be enough for you to get your 2nd dose. And the calculations that we have done prior that the vaccination program started to be rolled out is the amount of 60-plussers that the community of St. Martin has, and the healthcare professional with some of the more on the frontliners. So that is the plan that we are executing as the ministry, as CPS, and as the vaccine management team. So we are not just, if it was, for instance, if worldwide there was only 1 brand, and that's it, it will be a different thing than if the amount of the different brands that exist, seeing that you have to use the 2nd time. For instance, today, prior to coming here, because I have to wake up very early to continue taking note of the worldwide developments of vaccination and COVID. Again, there are indicated that Johnson & Johnson that just was approved, you only need 1 dose, 1 vaccination. And that you don't even need these special conditions with freezers up to -80 and Moderna -20, but you can just put it in the fridge. But as far, right now, there is only 11 million that the Netherlands purchased, and they are struggling too. And we're getting the vaccines out of the Netherlands. So what we are doing is making sure that we don't do nothing irrationally, and afterwards we will have a systematic issue with giving the vaccines. I hope I was clear about that. If there's anything, I'm glad to be here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
All right. Thank you, Minister Panofsek. Minister, yes. Prime Minister?
Yes, sorry. I was so satisfied with the response from the minister. I think it was pretty clear. If you still want my opinion, I can give it. But in the end, I agree that, yes, worldwide, the more you vaccinate quickly, the more herd immunity, or the faster you get the herd immunity you want. But because we are relying on every 3-week shipment, we have to go according to the plan. The vaccination management team is working diligently. I did see one of the leaders in that yesterday when I was taking mine, and I told him I would lobby with him to be able to get us further when he apprised me of the fact that we had confirmed receipt of the next batch. You see, without knowing that, you cannot start into another sector expecting, not sure if you will be able to give those who had the first Pfizer. Once you're sure you're getting another batch of Pfizer and you're sure of the amount, then you can plan accordingly. So we will see when they arrive and what quantities we will have. And then hopefully, as a council, I can tell you that we are strong proponents of ensuring, seeing the public sentiment, that we as leaders take the vaccine. Because a lot of persons are not trusting it, or saying, oh, why I did, doing it first with the elderly or whatever, as if anybody is being forced into it. The idea is to protect our most vulnerable. And as Minister mentioned, the Pfizer has the highest level of protection with minimal to no side effects, which is best for vulnerable people. And so that's why we want to reserve, if we only get these first 2 batches, for instance, of Pfizer, that the most vulnerable get it. But that doesn't stop the registration. As a matter of fact, as we have more registrations, that is the insurance that we will be able to get more vaccines, if I'm making myself clear. So people who are waiting, well, when you know more, then I'll register. the fact that registration is less than we expected. People might think 8,000 is good, but we won't make our June deadline at this rate. We would have to have many more registrations. As you mentioned, we have more capacity, but we're not going to put in a capacity that will end in a week or 2 weeks. You understand what I mean? We really need to have the registrations go up considerably so that we can ensure the longevity of it and then be able to reach the 70% that we are aiming for. So I commend the ministry and the team for what they're doing, as well as you for asking those type of questions. And again, encourage all to register as soon as possible. You will definitely get the vaccine, especially if we keep our numbers in terms of registration as high as possible. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Dr. Sarkar, and as well, thank you, Prime Minister. Moving into the second round of questions, Bibi Shah, SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you again. I'll ask my question to both the Prime Minister as well as the Minister of VSR. Prime Minister and Minister Panafleck, this past week, we have seen a number of European countries suspended the AstraZeneca vaccine due to blood clot, and even some are contemplating the Moderna. Have St. Martin taken a stance just in case the Netherlands say, well, you know, the next shipment, because now you have 2 shipments of Pfizer, but let's say the 3rd shipment, they say we only have AstraZeneca in stock. Will St. Martin accept this vaccine? Or have the country taken a stance and say, no, based on the health concerns with AstraZeneca, we will not take it at this point in time?
I will let the minister go into detail, but what I can tell you is that the agreement within the kingdom is that if the Dutch government that is distributing to us is not distributing AstraZeneca to persons in the Netherlands, it will not be distributed anywhere in the kingdom. So that offer will not come, I can see. Minister Panafleck.
Thank you for the question. The situation as follows. And you see, that's good that you ask this question, because then people can get the complete story. AstraZeneca have shown that blood clot, what they're calling emboli, has shown up by some patients, clients, persons who had what administered. Some of the northern part of the European countries, including the Netherlands, has decided to administer this vaccine to people for further investigation. They took out that they will stop using the AstraZeneca for the coming 2 weeks so that they can do further investigations. Now, England, Belgium, and some other European countries are of the different opinion. They think the amount of people, of the percentage that is showing the side effect of blood clot is so low, and it is even compared with people that have it already by other means compared to getting the vaccination is so low that it's more important to vaccinate a large, vast majority of the population as soon as possible than taking the risk of getting the blood clot. Now, I spoke to somebody from Tortola yesterday, and yes, they are part of Great Britain, and as you know, the AstraZeneca was developed in England. And as such, they also are pushing with the vaccine and are not holding back, because to them, the figures, the percentage of people that had show it, actually in Tortola, they don't have that, but that's worldwide we're talking about. So about like five or more people, over 100,000 and things like that. Those percentage are we talking about? They are continuing to do it. And as a matter of fact, they have their borders partially, not airway, but by sea, locked down still. And they have zero, but still they are pushing for the vaccination. And yes, because there are a British dependency and falling under Great Britain, they are receiving AstraZeneca, so they are pushing to vaccinate the vast majority of the population as soon as possible, as we are all doing in the world. So yes, I took notice of the AstraZeneca problem that exists right now. We are taking it in consideration, and that's why I also am requesting and pleading for our vulnerable in the community to register so that you will be vaccinated with the Pfizer. Another thing, besides the AstraZeneca, because I understand human character, and human character is whatever gives negative publicity, that's all what everybody wants to know. The positive, the people don't want to know. There are, besides the AstraZeneca, we have the Pfizer that we have on the island right now. We have the Moderna that was administered to Ceiba and Statia. And then if you ask, why Ceiba and Statia, the Dutch send the Moderna from? Because they have them in less quantity, and Ceiba and Statia are smaller community, and basically in a couple of days they vaccinated everybody, and they are even vaccinated the second dose, and it's done. The Pfizer is something that came out to us for, and if people take the time, instead of reading, I don't want to use the news, fake news, but if they really do their research, we'll see that the Pfizer, as we are indicating, has the highest efficiency to the group that we are busy right now vaccinating, and we are calling come. It's for the first time that we are realized that something is free and people ain't coming for it. But then I'm glad to see that a lot of medical professionals right now are all of a sudden searching in St. Martin because they all know better than the professional. Even I take my advice from the professionals. And even when the professionals come, they have to show me where scientific research has proven what they're telling me. Because I have to go and tell the people to go and take it. And I don't take that lightly. Thank you, Bibi.
Thank you, Bibi, as well as thank you both Prime Minister and Richard Panafleck. Thank you very much. Moving forward to Lyndon Brown from BCN TV. Lyndon, are you able to also join us on camera?
Yeah. Good morning again to the Prime Minister. Question to the Prime Minister. From vaccine to election, President, now today, Minister, today is the last day.
Excuse me, Lyndon. I see that Lyndon is having some technical difficulties, so we'll have him for that next question.
On the same level?
Excuse me, Lyndon. You're breaking up?
Yeah.
So, okay, you'd like to give it a try one more time? Please.
I was saying today is the last day for the second chamber of the Dutch election. So I was asking the Prime Minister, what the relationship, I mean, there will be newcomers into the Dutch government. Is there anything that you would like to see change? The increasing of the relationship with the Dutch?
Thank you for that question. Yes, indeed, it is election day, the last day for the elections in the Netherlands. As you know, just like in the United States and other big countries, they started some time ago, and today is the end of that. I believe that we have come a very long way. We have a long way to go. There has been many challenges in, let's say, the communication and cooperation within the kingdom, but we continue as St. Martin. As we are a part of this kingdom, that is the decision that has been made by our population. It has not changed. It is the construct where we have the most history, the most family connections as well within the kingdom. Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin, and the other two islands. Ceiba, Statia especially have strong connections. We have a special construct, and we won't know who will be sitting, just like in elections in St. Martin, until some months down the line. We've had this discussion with the sitting government. The discussions that we are currently in have been signed and sealed, let's call it that. They are not of a controversial nature in the Netherlands, so they do not expect that this will be put aside, whereby we're working together in realizing liquidity support from St. Martin for St. Martin and the other countries, as well as whereby we are living up to the obligations and the conditions for that liquidity support. We all know the trajectory that got us here. It has been a tumultuous road. I have not changed. The government of St. Martin has not changed its opinion that it could have gone differently, it could have gone better, seeing that we are in a worldwide pandemic coming out of the recovery of multiple disasters in 2017, which hit this Caribbean region. I believe a lot of the misunderstandings that we have are due to us not being able to see each other's perspective. And over the last 2 months, maybe because it's election time, I have been seeing a little bit of understanding, a little better understanding of our reality. I did mention in our last 2 press briefings that the steering committee member of a representative of BZK was here, was able to be on the ground, was able to speak with all the players, and has a better understanding of the willingness of St. Martin people to work hard and work together for us to realize the best possible outcomes for St. Martin. So that remains our stance. We're willing to work with who's willing to work with us. Of course, ensuring that we uphold our laws and the respect for our people as such. And therefore, I don't foresee that it can, it will go any different than it's going now. We have to be clear in our communication, clear in what we are about. And I have been nothing but that to the people of St. Martin and to the Dutch government, in that we are fighting for the livelihoods of St. Martin's people, to ensure that we can pay salaries, to ensure that we can pay out understand, to ensure that we can give schools their subsidies, give the sports organizations their subsidies, give the others, all of the other social partners, the subsidies. We can all argue it's not enough. There's an impression that St. Martin is overpaying. We have already allayed many of those fears. And as I mentioned in my opening statement, our implementation agenda, the plan for the implementation of reforms is ready, is approved by the Council of Ministers. And so the commitment for us to make the necessary positive changes to improve the quality of life of St. Martiners is there. And as such, I expect that we will have the cooperation of the Netherlands in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyndon, and also thank you, Prime Minister. For our last and final question from a member of media, Dr. Sack, Jeffrey Sackman from Island 92, you have the floor.
Thank you, Charity. We appreciate it. This question is for Minister De Wever from TIAT. Minister, I'm curious. I'd like to hear your thoughts, because just knowing the way that you work, there's always a plan. So I'm hoping that you could share some of the plan with us. We're seeing that the airlines are starting to report record numbers of people starting to fly since the pandemic. We're seeing it here in our own chat room at Island 92 Radio, where tourists are saying, we can't wait to come back. We're ready to come back. We're ready to come back. The United States is certainly striving to have people vaccinated by the 4th of July this summer. What are we doing from a marketing perspective? Are we working with any of our travel partners to really reach out and say, hey, St. Martin, we're ready. Please come. We want you, and our shores are ready to roll. What are we doing from a cooperative perspective with some of our travel partners, whether it be the airlines, the big hotels, et cetera, to really drive and capture that North American tourist, that Canadian tourist, and get them here, so we have a really spectacular shoulder season. Thank you, Minister.
Thanks, Mr. Sokrin. Were you tapping my phone calls? Because this is what I've been talking about for 2 days, actually. Now, let me not beat around the bush. Actually, one of the things that we are struggling with as a country is finances to actually get things done. That is a huge constraint on accomplishing anything. Nonetheless, even with that constraint, it actually pushes you to become a whole lot more creative on how you can actually get marketing out there when you're when you're having a financial constraint. So that's why I asked you if you have my phones tapped, because I've been on the planning meeting with the harbor and airport and NRPB on how we can sort of combine or pool our funds to do marketing, because one of the things that the world needs to know, of course, with the assistance of the tourism office, so let's not forget that they're part of the ministry, but one of the things the world needs to be aware of is that St. Martin is one of the freest places out there right now with the lowest numbers. And even though earlier on I said that we were extending business hours, what people need to remember is that the ministerial regulation still is in effect. And I have absolute faith in our people that we will continue to operating in a safe manner, that we can keep those numbers down, continue increasing the vaccination rollout, continue signing up, registering to receive the vaccine so that we can show the world that we're ready. Let me not even try and mince words. The conversation that I had a couple days ago with the cruise sector is that they were happy to see how much St. Martin was accomplishing with its vaccine rollout, because of the fact that there is so much sort of fear out there with vaccine, and that is a huge it's a huge advantage for us as a country. Now, whether it's very different on the Dutch side compared to the French side, absolutely. There's a huge difference on the Dutch side. We are doing significantly more, which is why the dialogue also has to go on with the French side. Hey, how can we assist? The sooner we can promote this to our island on both sides, the sooner we can restart. That is why they are actually, my phone is pretty much blowing up with 2 companies trying to come back here as early as the beginning of June because of what they have seen with our vaccine rollout. So in terms of marketing, it is a combination that we will have where I'll be able to give an update with NRPB, airport, port, doing it together, extending it out to the cruise when they restart, because the announcement that I'm dying to make will be next week now. But I think y'all can, read between the lines. And I'm going to be reaching out to the hotels as well to see how they can assist. So I'm all excited and kind of smiling, and I do like to hold on to information until it all comes out, but it does have our attention sucked because St. Martin is safe. St. Martin is operating almost normal, and we need to let the world know that they can come here, and we have more hotels that have opened up. Thank you, Dr. Sack.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. You rock.
Thank you, Dr. Sack, as well as thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers and radio listeners, this brings us to the end of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, March 17, 2021. For video on demand, please log on to the official government's website. For rebroadcast of the Council of Ministers press briefing, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM. Also, for video on demand, log on to the official website at stmartingov.org and channel 115 on St. Martin Cable TV. On behalf of the Government of St. Martin and the Department of Communication, I am Charity Dunker, bidding you a pleasant day further.